Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are going to debunk a massive myth in the world of data. And I want to start with something that I think is genuinely underappreciated. You see, most people who learn data skills spend all of their time completely obsessing over technical tools. They really believe that mastering the software is what makes someone a great data analyst. But we're going to reveal the true differentiator instead. And I promise you, it's going to completely challenge how you approach data work from here on out.
Look, have you ever experienced this absolute nightmare? You spend weeks, literally weeks, building a technically perfect, visually stunning dashboard. It's got all the bells and whistles, a complex donut chart, maybe even a sleek dark mode theme, the whole shebang. But then, nobody actually uses it. Why? Well, because it answers the wrong questions. Executives just end up making decisions based on analysis that is technically flawless, but answers something nobody actually needed to know. The tool skills were fine, but the thinking behind them was completely missing. So let's just quickly look at our roadmap for today to systematically upgrade your mental model. We'll cover 1. The analyst mindset. 2. Why the question must come before the data. 3. Sharpening the vague ask. 4. What decision will change. 5. Numbers versus metrics. And finally 6. Putting it all into practice.
Starting off with Section 1, the analyst mindset.
It seems like everyone out there is totally obsessed with learning Excel, SQL, Python, and Tableau. And hey, don't get me wrong, those are incredibly valuable tools. You absolutely need them, but they are not sufficient. The actual secret weapon, the thing that separates a genuinely invaluable analyst from someone who's just kind of technically capable, is the mindset of asking the right question before ever touching the data. A brilliant analyst with average tools is going to outperform an average analyst with brilliant tools every single time, for sure.
Moving on to Section 2. Question before the data. There's this fantastic quote, "Data doesn't tell you what to look for, you do." Think about it. If you just dive headfirst into a massive data set without a specific question, what happens? You will inevitably end up with a huge pile of numbers and absolutely zero insight every single time. The data just cannot speak for itself until you give it a framework. And you know what? That framework is your question. It's kind of like a doctor. Imagine walking into a hospital packed with expensive MRI machines, blood tests, x-rays, ultrasounds. Does the doctor just blindly throw you into every single machine in the building? Of course not. That would take weeks, cost a fortune, and honestly generate so much noise they'd never find the actual problem. Instead, the doctor starts with a question. What are the symptoms? What are we trying to find out? That question determines exactly which medical tests to run. Well, data analysis works exactly the same way. Your question dictates the data sources, the metrics, and the visualizations you actually need to build.
All right, Section 3, sharpening the vague ask.
Oh man, we have all been here. A manager walks up to your desk and says, "Hey, can you analyze our sales performance?" Or maybe, "Could you look into customer churn?" Now here is the trap. Those are not questions. They are topics. A manager giving you a topic is just giving you a vague direction, not an answerable query. To turn it into a real, actionable question, you need to know the region, the baseline, the product line, the time frame, and the specific metric. Like, are we comparing this quarter to last year? Are we looking at units sold or revenue?
So, as an analyst, your real job is to push back. You got to take that hazy, vague topic and sharpen it into something highly specific and measurable. We have to take analyze sales performance and mold it into, did our average revenue per active customer in the North region increase in Q2 2025 compared to Q2 2024? Boom! Now you know exactly what data you need. A huge part of your job is actually just helping stakeholders clarify their own thinking.
Which brings us to Section 4, what decision will change? I actually want you to stop and really think about this for a second, because honestly, this is the single most powerful question in all of analytics. What decision will this change? Before you pull a single row of data, you have to ask your stakeholder this. If I show you a number and it's really high, what will you do? If it's rock bottom, what will you do? Here's the absolute kicker. If the business decision is going to remain exactly the same regardless of whether the numbers come back high or low, well, you don't actually need the analysis. The decision is already made. In that case, actually, scratch that. You're not doing analysis at all. You were just creating decoration, or maybe seeking validation. But when a real decision does exist, man, your analysis becomes incredibly freeing because it actually changes business outcomes. You finally stop doing work that nobody will act on.
Let's make this concrete.
Say the marketing team comes to you and asks, hey, which channels are driving the most website traffic? You stop and you ask, what decision will this change? And they reply, oh, well, we want to know which channels to invest more money into. Bingo! By uncovering that core decision, we completely shift the analysis. It's no longer just about some useless vanity traffic numbers. It becomes about traffic plus conversion plus revenue per channel. We only got to that highly valuable analysis because we asked what decision it was going to change. Moving right along to Section 5, Numbers versus Metrics. You absolutely have to understand this distinction. It trips up almost everyone working with data. A number merely describes that something happened. But a true metric, that actually helps you make a decision. Numbers are just ingredients. They tell you a fact, but they offer zero context. Metrics, on the other hand, are the answers. They provide the context, they point toward an action, and they tell you if things are actually good or bad. For instance, if you stand up in a meeting and say, revenue was 42 crore last quarter, that is just a number. It's an ingredient. It tells us something happened, but is that good? Is it shrinking? Compared to what? Instead, look at a metric. Revenue per active customer increased to 4,600 rupees year over year, driven primarily by repeat electronics purchases. See the difference? Now that is an answer you can actually act on. Do we invest more in electronics? Do we change our pricing strategy? As an analyst, your whole job is to turn those raw ingredients into real answers. Finally, let's wrap this up with Section 6, putting it into practice. Let's take a classic, incredibly vague stakeholder topic. Someone asks, are we growing? Okay, growing in what? Users? Profit margins? Let's sharpen it. We ask them, what decision is this connected to? The leadership comes back and says they're deciding whether to raise another round of funding in 6 months. Aha, now we know exactly what investors care about. The metrics we need are monthly recurring revenue and net revenue retention. So step by step, we've completely transformed a vague topic into a laser-focused question. Is our MRR accelerating, and is our NRR staying above 100%? That is the story the funding depends on. That initial vague ask probably took the stakeholder all of 3 seconds to say out loud. But sitting down with them and spending just 10 minutes upfront to develop a sharp question, it completely changes the trajectory of your work. Those 10 minutes of conversation, they'll literally save you 3 weeks of building the wrong dashboard. And they'll save you from tearing your hair out at your desk when nobody uses it. I mean, it is absolutely the highest return on investment of your time you will ever get as an analyst. So if you take nothing else away from this explainer, remember this. Thinking always comes before tools. The question comes before the data, and the decision comes before the metric. This mindset is exactly what the Trinity Corp Solution AI Engineer program is all about. They focus heavily on building this mental model first before you ever write a single line of code. If you want to dive deeper and really develop this invaluable way of thinking, definitely check out the resources at trinitycorps.org, go subscribe to the Sahil AI Academy on YouTube, and connect with Sahil on LinkedIn. I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to really ponder before you touch your very next data set, before you write your next SQL query, or open up another spreadsheet. Ask yourself honestly, will your work actually change a business outcome today, or are you just building another pointless piece of decoration? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you put this new mindset into action.